I always love having a special guest on this Justin, and nobody more special than my guy Esty. We're doing a little talking soccer for the folks out there. First up in this Justin, probably would you say that Lionel Messi is the best soccer player in the world right now? He's top three, right?
Right now, I mean, I think he's the best soccer player ever
Okay.
in the history of this sport. Obviously, it's hard to compare between Messi and all the players that were there before. But I think that right now, especially, he's 34 years old and he still grinding. So yeah, I would say if he's not the best, he's by far in those three first spots that you just mentioned, Justin. Yeah.
We bring up Messi because you might have heard his name in the news. You might have been wondering what all the hubbub was about. But so he's been on Barcelona, I think, since he was like a child, like he was like 12 or 13. He's 34 now, but he finally agreed to sign his contract with Paris Saint-Germain. I probably butchered the last part, but he's changing clubs, and he's joining PSG on a 2-year deal. I think the third year is an option. He's going to play with Mbappe and Neymar. So those are two names that people are pretty familiar with. But this is a story with a lot of, ramifications for the soccer world. What's going to happen to Barcelona after, like the new club going to look like, the money involved. I think there's like bankruptcy and SD. I want you to break it down for us in the best way that you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of misinformation and a lot of fake news going around, like whether Messi was staying or not. I think he was even like misinformed about his future because, he thought he was staying at Barcelona, but because of the bankruptcy thing that you just mentioned, he needed to leave. There was people asking him to play for free, which I think it's a very like romantic way of seeing this. It's like if you ask, I don't know, the best scientist to be an intern in your firm just because you're bankrupt, and I just don't think that's fair. And but what I would say, and the way that I see this, just to put the whole Messi situation in context, I think that Messi is like the metaphor of the modern soccer, where the best players just go to the richer teams, and the like more classic and the less wealthy teams just try to keep track with them, and they just can't, and that's why they go to bankruptcy. And these new riches such as PSG, and we also have seen similar circumstances with Manchester City at the Premier League, that are owned by states, just have the economical wellness to acquire this type of players, and have the front three that you just mentioned with Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi, that are most people call them like Messi was the best player, Neymar is the best player, and Mbappe is going to be the best player. So there's like three different eras of soccer just reunited in a team. So that'll be super interesting to see how that functions, and to see if they can achieve all the expectations that people have around this team now.
So Messi was the best player. What made him so great? Obviously, right? You can say, oh, what's made Tom Brady so great, or what's made LeBron James so great? But they all have a certain characteristic, I think, right? Everyone thinks, well, they're good at everything, and they are, but they're not perfect players, right? So what makes Messi elite over the years? What's put him head and shoulders above everybody that he's played against?
First of all, I would say that Messi is the most talented player that you can ever see, because he just it's like a genius. He's playing and he does stuff that you will never think a human is capable of doing. But I think that the second biggest thing is that he maintained that level throughout 15 years. This is the first season after 17 years that Barcelona starts a game of La Liga, Spanish championship, without Messi. So that talks about how big he's been, and how for how long he's just maintained this level of greatness. So I think that's huge, and also all the individual and team silverware that he's won over these 17 years that I just mentioned.
Yeah, he's a legend for sure. I want to talk about success. You talk about success. That's 50 years of the original Fudge Kitchen, doing it the right way, a first-class way. Check them out. FudgeKitchens.com. They're shipping fudge and sweet treats, across the entire country. The best in the business, Jersey Shore Fudge. Came in New Jersey all the way to Ocean City. Stop and see him when you're down the shore this summer. The summer's not over yet, folks. It's still August. It's going to be nice down the shore all the way till about late October, early November. stop in, treat your family some great holiday sweet treats, birthday presents, whatever that may be. You can ship it around the country, like I said. And also, the holidays are getting closer and closer. The fall's coming. You're starting to see the pumpkin spice stuff, which I think is absolutely crazy. It's August. Pump the brakes on the pumpkin spice stuff, but check them out. Fudge Kitchen, fudge and sweet treats across the country. So I want to keep it in soccer here. The Premier League. I'm a Tottenham Hotspurs fan. I became one this wintertime. I had the pleasure to be with some Hotspurs fans in Key West, Florida, and just bumped into them. And I was looking for a team. I could not be a Liverpool fan. I just couldn't do it. They were too good. You can't come into the league and be a fan of the best team. You just can't do it. I just didn't feel right. And I was fun for me because it was like a recruiting thing. They were recruiting me to join them. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I've got made fun of for it many times from Premier League fans and fans of other clubs. But the Premier League has started and it's back up again. Talk about the Premier League, SD. What's going on? What's on the palette? I know Tottenham's off to a hot start.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that you must be happy after that 1-0 win against the current champions of the Premier League, Manchester City, especially with all the things that are going around with the transfer market and Harry Kane, one of the best Tottenham Hotspur players about to leave to go to Manchester City. So I think it was a huge win for Spurs in the game week 1 of this Premier League, which I think after several years where, as you mentioned, just Liverpool and Manchester City were at the top and were unbeaten and not other teams could keep track with them. I think this year other teams such as Manchester United and Chelsea have acquired great players and have done great deals throughout this transfer window. So I think it's going to be a very competitive and interesting year ahead of the Premier League. The 4 of them won, not City, because, as we just mentioned, lost against Spurs. But the other 3, Manchester United won 5-1 against Leeds. Chelsea won 3-0 against Crystal Palace. Liverpool went to Norwich and won 3-0. And on the other hand, we have Arsenal, the other team that are also part of that Big Six top of the league, but they lost against a recently promoted team, Brentford, 2-0. So I think that's the only team that won't keep track with the other 5, but I think it'll be interesting just to see just the competitiveness that this year the Premier League will bring to us.
So that's first of all, fantastic analysis from Esty there. Go Hotspurs. And then secondly, if you want to learn anything about the Premier League, a great way to learn an Americanized version of it is through Ted Lasso, the TV show. Esty's going to start watching. We're going to get him to start watching. Justin and I are fans. Him and I are plowing along with it and staying up to date on the episodes. But yeah, if you're not a Premier League fan, I highly suggest it. Again, I know people are football fans. A lot of football fans listen to this podcast, and I am the first person to say that I was not a fan of soccer, but now I've got into it, or football, I should say, SD. And I'm a fan now. I like following it. I'm following some players on Twitter and Instagram, and well, first off, let's get this. We talked a little Messi. We talked a little Premier League. This is fantastic. We're talking a little soccer today on Not For Long Media. A prediction from Messi of who's going to win the Premier League this year.
I think this year Manchester United, it's a pretty good contender to raise the league. But I also think that Chelsea, they just got Lukaku from Inter Milan, who was a former player from Chelsea. They sold him because, he didn't fulfill the expectations people have around him. But then after the Euros he had, he's an extraordinary striker that is now back at Chelsea, who just won the Champions League. So I think those 2 are my biggest contenders. And just to see something different out of Manchester City and Liverpool that I mentioned, they ruled the league for several years. So I just want to see something different out of those 2. So I think Manchester United and Chelsea are great contenders for this year.
There we go. JA. He's going to have to pick a team. That's just what's going to have to happen, Justin, because you don't have a choice. We're going to be talking soccer on here. You're going to have to dive in.
Well, my allegiance already lies to AFC Richmond, but that's a fictitious team from Ted Lasso. So, I guess I could take a real one on.
That's true. That is true. I'm on the same page, 100%.